The number one most annoying thing about modern headphones is when you put them in your ears, you can't hear nothing else. You can be walking down the street, someone shouting your name, all right, mate, you're never going to hear them. With me, it's, aren't you that dickhead off the internet? So I probably would rather not hear them half the time, but it is nice to be able to have the option. I've seen people with their headphones in nearly walk straight out in front of a car coming because they can't hear the bloody engine. And finally, a company have realised this issue. God bless Raycon. Yes, Raycon, who I've been using for a long time. If you've been watching the channel long enough, you'll know that. They give you clear and balanced sound, but you can also hear what's going on around you. And by the way, these headphones look sick. I use mine at work, in the gym, going for a run. They're good for every situation. And one of the best things about them that you are going to love is there's a multi-point connection, meaning that you can use them on your laptop and your phone, and you don't have to disconnect, then reconnect, and all of that nonsense that you're used to. And this case has 36 hours of battery life, blowing away the competition. And Raycon have had over 3 million customers, and they offer you a 30-day guarantee, so there's no risk in trying them. So if you're looking for your everyday headphones, check out Raycon. The link is in the description below. Go to buyraycon.com/thekickoff-open, and you'll get 15% off your order. And not only will you be getting great sound quality, but you'll be supporting the channel. Big love to Raycon for sponsoring this episode, but for now, enjoy the video. Welcome back to The Kickoff, and we could be on for a generational North London head loss at the end of this season, as Arsenal could possibly really, the biggest bottle job of all time in Premier League history. We could be about to witness it, along with Spurs doing what we never thought would be possible for a big six club and getting relegated. That beautiful stadium in the Championship next season, it's looking likely. We're going to start with Arsenal though, lads. I watched the Bournemouth game, and earlier this season I really did try and give Arsenal their props and say, look, you know, yes, it hasn't been beautiful, but what they've done, you know, they deserve credit for it. Watching that game so close to the end of the season, Jacob, a home game against Bournemouth, a game that you wish for in a Premier League, you know, in a way of nailing down the title, and yet I couldn't believe I was watching a top of the league side. It was actually mind-blowing the way Bournemouth looked compared to Arsenal. Bournemouth looked like the footballing side. Arsenal, they looked like they were just trying to nick a win. What was it like for you, that game?
Oh, mate, sitting and watching it in the stand, it like, if we played that 11 and they played at that level for 38 games, we'd be in the same situation as Spurs. Like, genuinely, we would be bottom half of the table, if not fighting relegation. That's how bad the 11 on the pitch were, and it's how bad they performed. I think Arteta giving it all this, we need the fans, bring your lunch and your dinner, we're going to need everything in that stadium. I'm sorry, it's fucking embarrassing. It is embarrassing. You're the best paid manager in the Premier League outside of Guardiola. You've spent 350 million quid. You don't need me. It's 12:30 on a Saturday. Go and do your job. Mm-hmm. It's embarrassing. And I think he makes this mistake all the time. I don't know if you saw the stuff on the training ground this week. He had a big screen. He apparently showed them all of their mistakes from the season. This was to cheer him up
Confidence
a bit.
builder.
Mate, after they lost the Carabao final, after they went out of the FA Cup to Southampton, he went, I know what will cheer them up. Let's show them all the mistakes they've made. Then he started playing some TikToks, some AI slop-off TikTok with some fake crowd songs.
Jesus.
And then he goes into that press conference, by the way, knowing that he's going to have to play Lewis Skelly at left back, Ben White at right back, a half-fit Kai Havertz in attack, Madueke, which, by the way, Josh, I hope you're still counting the cash we gave you for him, because Jesus Christ, we've never spent worse money in our lives.
It takes a long time, Jacob, because there's quite a lot of money. Do you know what I mean? Like, it takes a lot.
I teed him up as well. I teed him up for it. But if you know you're going to have to play a really bad 11 at Bournemouth, don't G it up like it's a cup final. Like looking back, honestly, with the 11 we put out, with the bench we had, no Saka, no Ødegaard, just take a draw. Just go, you know what? Let it be a quiet game. It's going to go wrong. This is why we built up a lead in terms of the points we got over City. Just go out there, and you have to draw. You draw. It's fine. There's a long way to go. Instead, he builds it up as this cup final, exactly like he did against PSG last season, by the way, when we played them at home. And how did that go? 1-0 down in 90 seconds. He keeps doing this. And I remember saying this at the start of the season. He's too intense. He's way too... And by the way, this isn't me going, Arteta out, sack him now, because let's look around. Who's going to replace him? There's no guarantee Arsenal get any better with a new manager. I'm not saying he's perfect.
Iraola could be quite good, to be fair.
I don't disagree with you at all. Can
I just jump in on that though, Jacob? The energy around Arteta in being top of the league is bizarre. It's ultimately that the Arsenal fans are not happy with what they're watching. Even though they're top of the league, they're still not happy because ultimately you're not seeing what you feel like is a long-term thing here. Even if you nick this title, you don't feel like this is ultimately the whole project is going where it should be. Just to typify that, Arsenal from open play, 0.19 XG to Bournemouth's 1.22. David Raya having the second most passes in the game for Arsenal. That Bournemouth side, that starting 11 was £125 million worth of players. I counted that because I couldn't believe like the value Areola's getting out of them lot is a joke. And you've got Gyökeres blaming a dry pitch. And the thing that amazes me is that we're still having these issues even after. I think the Arsenal fans have shown patience with Arteta. The board have shown patience in backing him. He's spent all of this money to have much thicker squad this season to cope with what he's going through. And yet in April, we're seeing the same thing we usually see. And when you look at the stats for his win rate in April generally versus Guardiola's win rate in April, Arteta's is 40%, Guardiola's is 79%. And that's where I think they should be fucking worried right now. I'm just going to open it to the lads, Craig and Josh. What are you saying right now? What do you think of this?
The only thing that is keeping me going this season is watching Arsenal bottle the league as Tottenham go down. I've got nothing else. I've got nothing else to look forward to. Like I'm a kid at Christmas now, waiting for those two teams to completely bottle it. Look, I think with Arsenal, they can't keep doing this. Like I keep expecting them to just go on, romp the league, pull it together. They've got a decent squad. They're physical. They're going about things in a slightly different way. You expect the things to change and nothing changes. They're the same old Arsenal. They're going to bottle it again. Man City have been absolutely dreadful.
But they've spent so much money to stop this from happening. And yet I'm seeing comments online, which I thought was an interesting one of, I'm really glad Arteta played Bukayo Saka versus Mansfield, Wigan and Port Vale. It really set him up for the Premier League April where we really need him. Is this an Arteta issue more than anything else at this point, Jacob?
It's hard to answer that because I'm not booing at the end of our games at the Emirates because I have to slap myself and remind myself that A, we're about to compete to go into Champions League semi-final. B, we've still got a 6-point league at the top of the Premier League, which let's be honest, I would have taken. If you'd have said to me in August, at this stage, do you want to be 6 points ahead? You've got to go to the Etihad and they've got a game in hand. Yeah, I'd take it. I look at the players on the pitch and I say to myself, I can't point to a manager out there who gets more out of those players. Noni Madueke one side, Martinelli who's got 1 goal in the league, Gyökeres who can't trap a ball. But then I remind myself, Arteta's the reason those players are there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If he'd only been here a year, I'd go, well, I'm blaming the guy who put the players on the pitch.
Exactly.
If it's the same situation as Chelsea, where Rossini's just got to deal with what he's given, I'd say I'm blaming. And look, you give anyone that group of players, I don't think they're getting much more out of it than Arteta. The problem is, he's the one who put them there.
Exactly.
And the problem is, he does this every single summer. Every summer, I'll get pelters off Arsenal fans because they get their shiny new toys. We spend 300 million quid and they start getting excited about Gyökeres and Madueke and Marino and Calafiori. And I sit there every summer and I go, I don't think Man City would buy these players. And it's not about City have got more money than us. They have, and they can offer more wages. We could have got Semenyo.
Could have got Turkey.
We could have got Cherki.
Yeah.
We did Eze instead. Eze was more expensive.
Jesus.
City would not buy the players that we buy. It gets to September, the new players look shit. We're back to relying on Saka and Ødegaard and Havertz. We run their legs off to the point that now, and this happens every April, we got an injury crisis.
Yeah.
And we go, well, look, at least Arteta's making things work. He's moving players around. He's doing what he can do, what he do. It's like going, you know what? He's doing a great job of putting the fire out in his house, but he's the one who started the fire. so
Eddie Howe, basically.
Yeah, but Brian, but this is my point. Is the reason I'm not booing it full time is I look around at Craig's club, who might go down. I look around at Josh's club, who are going to sack their second manager this season. I look at your club. Yeah. I'm sorry, unless your club is called Manchester City, you're having a worse season than Arsenal, and your future looks bleaker than ours. And you look at the managerial market, who's out there?
We'll go on to Man City now, right? I want to touch on one thing first. Is I was shocked at how bad that was. In Premier League history, I do now worry more that Arsenal are going to be remembered for all of the worst things about this side. Like they're going to be remembered as the team who won the league in spite of how bad it was to watch them, because I don't remember a team. Like, I can pick out little things. Even that last Alex Ferguson team that was so on its last legs, hobbling over the line. They had Robin van Persie. They had things that you were like, I could still enjoy moments. Mm-hmm. I don't enjoy any moments anymore watching this Arsenal side. It's actually quite a painful thing as a neutral, which is a shame for the Premier League as a whole product. But I think it's an overall problem that Arsenal sort of encapsulate. But Man City are giving us a fucking title race finally after they stumbled a bit. Now they come in against Chelsea. They win 3-0, although Chelsea did have a few moments in the first half from what I watched. Josh, you got a closer look at the title challenge here. Do you think after watching that game against City that they mean business now and now they're really going to go after it?
I think, do you know what's so funny? I was looking at the two squads and I was remembering a time gone by 10 years ago where Chelsea actually had a proper team that could compete for titles. And you just have to look at the team sheet now. We've just been so ripped apart. Whereas Man City, you look at the individual players that they have, the technical quality that they have, it is so ridiculously strong. You know, when you're bringing on, you know, Phil Foden for junk minutes at the end of the game, that sort of tells you everything you need to know about the performances and the quality that they have. Pep Guardiola has fit in his four most attacking players into that team. You know, Doku on one side being able to beat anyone. Semenyo, who on form right now, probably one of the best players in the league, might win player of the season if they win the league. Let's be real, right? You got Cherki in behind them, and Haaland's just a freak. And even in a low moment for him in terms of him not performing, still, you know, gets involved, gets around the pitch. So I just look at them, you know, player for player, and I say player for player, they've got a better team than Arsenal, so therefore they should win the league. Like, I look at their goalkeeper, completely solid. They've added Mark Gahey. Like, the way that Pep has actually drilled this team together now, they actually are coming into their own. And I do think their run of form to the end of the season will be better than Arsenal's. That's not to say that they're going to go and win it. I think this next game is going to be very, very interesting.
Massive. Yeah.
But yeah, like, I think Man City look really, really good. And, you know, I have to also just say, it's a bit of a sad state of affairs that we've got a title race between a team that still have all the charges over them, that we still haven't heard anything about that, and we all just shut up and have to just deal with it, and the Premier League are doing everything that they're doing behind closed doors. And then basically Stoke City reborn. I think in a weird way, look, you said it right a minute ago, Brian, the quality of the Premier League more generally has evened out throughout the league, which means at the top it's not quite as good as it used to be.
Credit to Pep for the fact that he is going out for an attacking side. That as a neutral, it makes me want to see that football rewarded. I kind of I've always gone against City, to be fair, and. It might be nice to have different champions, you know, and I know a lot of people hate Arsenal fans, so that's part of the reason why this would be funny for them. But for me, I want to see attacking football rewarded right now, and I'm rooting for Man City right now as a neutral, because it's just like, when I watch them, it's fucking entertaining. It's actually worth watching. And Craig, you can take it from you. You've been on this for a while, mate.
Listen, everyone was doubting Pep last year, and they thought, you know, he's finished. Can he really do a rebuild? Can he bring new younger players in? And we've seen what he's done this. They haven't been perfect this season. They haven't been great at times, but I still feel, like you said, Brian, they're playing the football we want to see. And I think the big turning point, if they do end up winning the league, for me personally, was the Carabao Cup final. I think we saw two teams go out there. It was almost like a dress rehearsal for the game we got coming up this week. And Man City absolutely destroyed them, pinned them back. I know the Arsenal fans like to blame Kepa because of that first goal, but let's be real, it was men against boys in that final. Man City showed that they actually are, and I know people say the table doesn't lie, but Man City are the best team in the league. They showed it to me on that day. They play football like the best team in the league. They got confident players like Cherki, who absolutely take the piss at any... This guy was doing kick-ups. This guy was doing kick-ups in a cup final. They keep doing cheeky things. Doku, after the game yesterday, I don't know if you saw his post-match interview, he is up for this game next week. He said it's a title decider. They just look super confident. And I know we're saying this now, and Arsenal could end up, scoring a scruffy set-piece corner goal and end up winning it 1-0 or nicking it 2-1, and then, the whole narrative changes. But for me, the way Arsenal have played all season, I'm not just saying this as a Spurs fan, because trust me, I can't be giving anyone stick right now, really. But I feel like Man City have played better ball across the season. They've let in a lot of goals, it has to be said. But when we talk about actually taking it to teams and trying to dominate them, Pep Guardiola's the master, man.
How did City play when they played you? Did one of their players who was linked with you in the summer get a hat-trick?
We're the bogey team, though. I don't know.
No one's bogey team. You're a championship team. What are you talking about?
Oh, fucking hell. We'll get on to that.
You're going to be Luton's bogey team next season, Craig. Before we move on, guys, can I just say, it's not over. It is not over. Can I just remind people, the last time that either Arsenal or City played a Premier League football match, we beat Everton at home with a teenager scoring what was a historic goal. And do you know what City did? They dropped points at West Ham. City have got to go to Bournemouth. They've got to go to Everton. We've still got a long way to go.
Kevin Keegan over here. I love it. You've gone for it. You're literally Kevin Keegan right now.
Where's the grey hairspray? I'm doing.
We're still fighting for this title.
We are still fighting for this title, and I would love it. No,
I would love it.
It's not over. I'm telling you, it's not over. If this happened, if this weekend had happened with 3 games to go, it's done. It's not over. If we get a draw or a win at the Etihad, we're in driving seat, and we've got an easier running than them.
Percentage-wise, just to give you the stats, because obviously Arsenal were odds on for the title, but they've gone from a 91% expectation of winning the league, according to Opta, to like 56%. So things have changed dramatically. But Jacob's completely right. It isn't over, but momentum is a hell of a thing at this time of the year, and I do think that looking back at partly down to the history of Pep, and Pep hasn't got the side he used to have, so those stats are skewed, but 79% win ratio in April is insane, compared to a 40% for Arteta. I do think that will count for something, and I think that this is where we're going to find out how much has Arteta learned from the past, because every time he's come up against in this scenario, I feel like he does bottle it head to head with Pep at this time of the year. There's been times where you really, it's Batman, you just to go with me on this. Remember when he has to jump the ledge and he has to take the fucking, the rope off and he has to go for it and go, I'm either going to win or I'm going to die. I think that's what Arteta needs to recognize now. You cannot try and steal this title. You have to go out and grab it, and you have to have the balls to do that. And we're going to find out how big the balls are this fucking weekend, and it's an unbelievable game in terms of what this means to Arsenal, because I do feel like it is do or die, and that if they don't win the title this season, the damage that could do psychologically to the squad in the long term, they could never be here again. I'm not saying they wouldn't be a good side in the future, but with Arteta, with these players, this is almost that Spurs moment where they didn't grab it. And they were the best team over the 2 years, but they didn't manage to make it count. They've got to make it count. And when I look at players like O'Reilly for Man City, for example, just rising to the occasion, I'm like, okay, this is fucking serious now, lads. Any final thoughts on that title decider coming up before we move on?
I never thought I'd say this. O'Reilly's injured.
Oh, really?
He's injured.
I never thought I'd be celebrating that.
Yeah. All I'm going to say is it's interesting you mentioned O'Reilly, because I think the fullback's going to be key on this, because Man City's wing play against us was just unbelievable. And if you don't have Arsenal, if you don't have your starting wing backs, then you're gonna struggle, because they will find space in those areas. You've got such a good centre back pairing, but if you can play around it, I just fancy City so much.
Quick one on the Chelsea lot before we move on to Spurs. Josh, obviously, one league win in 7 and actually 5 defeats in your last 6 games in all competitions. And the one win was against Port Vale. Obviously, you're not happy with the manager. There was a few nice moments in the first half of Chelsea. Is anything Has anything changed in your mind?
Mate, it's done. It's like the season's over. We're all just waiting for him to get sacked because we're doing this whole merry-go-round now where, he's got the full backing of the board. He'll only be judged in 2027. Bullshit. We're not going to get Champions League football. There's a relatively strong chance we don't even get Europe. That manager is one of the worst managers that I've seen for any top 6 team.
On to Spurs, lads. Obviously, they've lost 1-0 to Sunderland. And it wasn't just that they've lost 1-0 to Sunderland, which is shameful. I know all about that. It's also that West Ham and Nottingham Forest are really showing fight. And the confusing thing about this for me is even in the worst Premier League sides, we see the new manager bounce. These motherfuckers have had 3 managers this season. They've not had any new manager bounce. And I want to ask Craig why that is, mate.
Weak individuals. The combined value of our squad is ridiculous. And to be 18th in the league, have 3 different managers in a season and still put out the performance they had almost 3 weeks to prepare for this game against Sunderland. And they put in one of the worst performances. And do you know what? I keep saying one of the worst performances, but this is actually just the bar for Spurs now.
Yeah.
And I think I tweeted, you can go on my Twitter, I said on the 10th of February, that we're going to get relegated. And when I said that, it wasn't hyperbole. A lot of people were saying, oh, you're just being reactive. And I wasn't saying that to be reactive. I was saying it because of what I've actually witnessed with these Spurs players. It doesn't come down to quality, a relegation fight. It's not about quality, who has the best players or who's the bigger club or whatever. It's about mentality. And if you're weak mentally, and you start to feel sorry for yourself, you start playing the victim, you start saying, oh, I shouldn't be in this position. Why is this happening to me? You're going to go down. And that's what I'm seeing with these Spurs players. You're seeing Romero cry. Okay, that could have been because he got injured. You're seeing Van der Ven close to tears after the game. You're seeing Xavi Simons looking up to the sky. When you see players with this kind of body language and look on their face, to me, they've already given up. And there's still 6 games to play. The kind of body language I'm seeing...
Crying's not now, is it? Crying's at end of the season when you've been relegated. But they're mentally already gone, them lot. And just going off what I've seen from Spurs earlier this season, mate, like, we have been terrible this season. And when we played Spurs, I got a feeling like a shock because obviously you play the other Wolves were already relegated, but they showed more fight than Spurs. Do you know what I mean? That was an eye opener where I'm like, this lot they're not even fighting. It was the weakest, and I think that's spot on. They're mentally so weak. There's quality in there, otherwise you wouldn't have managed to pay the amounts of money you have, even though the prices are mental. But it really does remind me of that Newcastle side that got relegated, and the problem that you find yourself in when you have big time Charlies, big wages, who are too good to go down. They're not in a mental place to have a fight. They're not expecting a fight. And when a fight shows up and you're not prepared for one, you get chinned. Now, with West Ham at the start of the season, with Nottingham Forest at the start of the season, there was an awareness there of we might end up in a fight here. And that awareness and the fact that some of those players have been signed for that purpose means they're more equipped. Whereas Spurs, they've always been known as a bit of a softer side in that sense, but they never factored in. I bet you none of the contracts are even written up. You know how other clubs, if we get relegated, you get onto this kind of wage. They're probably not even written it into the contracts. They're so unprepared for this. And that's the problem I see from the outside looking in, is this has not been factored into even the possibility, even after last season. It wasn't even a factor. So when I look at that side...
That brings me on to my next point, though. I have to get this off my chest. Vinay Venkatesham, right, the CFO at Spurs, and Johan Lang. And I know people like to always do this rhetoric of blaming the executives at the top, but you can't have £1 billion corporation in Tottenham Hotspur in the Championship and go down under your watch. That is unforgivable as an executive. If you went into any other industry, finance, tech, if the executives at that level sent a multi-billion pound company down, not only would they lose their jobs, they'd be blacklisted from that industry. And that's what needs to happen to these executives at Spurs if Spurs go down, because the recruitment's been terrible from a managerial point of view and a player point of view. And all of the decisions they've made, every Spurs fan knew Thomas Frank should have been sacked in like January, December times. And that would have given them enough time for the other managers to
come in. Then.
They waited until there was like 10, 12 games left. It was too late by then. The players had already... Spurs have not won a game since the 28th of December. Today, as we record this, it's been 106 days since Spurs have won a game. They have not won a game in 2026. 14 games without a win. The second longest streak in their history as a football club. I think the last time was 16 games, and that was in like 1934. Like, what are we doing right here? Even the season Spurs were relegated in the 70s, they never had a losing streak. So all of the telltale signs are there. They're going down.
What did you make of the De Zerbi one? So, just on the execs, the fact that they went for a ridiculous appointment, in my opinion, in giving the City, again, the wrong tool for the wrong job. Getting a bloke who doesn't speak great English, who hasn't done a relegation battle in the Premier League before, I think it was absolutely insane.
Desperation.
But I felt like that 5-year deal for De Zerbi, it was panic, it was desperate, and it also just showed what a fucking mess that is, because you should have done that so long ago. Can De Zerbi, it's going to take magic, isn't it, lads? I want to open this up to the whole lot of years. Can De Zerbi, given that he is a good manager, and I mean, I've watched him tactically dick Eddie Howe in the Champions League this season. He is a decent manager. Will he have enough though?
Sorry, I knew this call would cheer me up. I just knew it would cheer me up. Look, with De Zerbi, I think the fact that he went in there and he's played the two young lads in midfield shows that he wants to play his football, right? Now, as you say, Brian, I think it's the complete opposite of what they need. They need someone who's just going to get them, enough points to stay in this league. The fact that he's gone in there and shown a bit of intent and gone, I'm playing the boys in midfield and we're going to try and play my way. It's too little too late. It's not going to work. The main question I've got about De Zerbi, does he want to stick around in the Championship? Because I don't think he will.
Has anyone heard anything about his contract? There's a break clause.
There is no relegation clause, and he will be the Spurs manager next season. Well, at the start of the season. Whether he stays...
Rafa Benitez sentence.
Whether he stays and he doesn't kick up a storm and get fired on purpose, it remains to be seen.
Because he does that everywhere. He does that everywhere. I mean, this is... it's just... the irony is, if we're being honest, like, Chelsea need a new manager, Newcastle need a new manager. I've watched De Zerbi at Brighton. I watched a little bit of Marseille because Ethan went there. Like, he's a good manager. He's a really good manager. Yeah. And if Chelsea and Newcastle go shopping for a manager in the summer, I don't think they'll get a better one than De Zerbi. But you just couldn't picture a worse manager.
I was actually annoyed at the time because in my head, I'm looking at the big clubs looking for managers right now. It's very clear Newcastle absolutely must sack Eddie Howe. And he was one of the ones who you'd put in that list and go, so when Spurs acted first, I thought that's what happens when we're dithering, when we're sitting on our hands. But this is the thing, and this is the last point I want to touch on the call, lads, is the reality of next season. It's more than likely Spurs will be relegated now. In my opinion, I would put money on that happening over the other clubs going down.
According to Opta, it's now 44.6% that Spurs go down.
I think West Ham will have the likelihood still, because I think West Ham have still got to play City and Arsenal. And I just quickly looked at Spurs' fixtures. You got Chelsea, you got Villa. It's not. The problem is they're
losing to Sunderland, mate. They're losing to Sunderland.
But this is it. This is it.
You can't even get a point right now, let alone 3. And we need at least 6 to 9. Yeah. We need at least 6 to 9.
Can we just say they haven't won this year, and they've got to win 3 games out of their last 6. Yeah. They're going down, lads. They're going.
And also, West Ham in the last 10 games are 5th in the form table.
Mate, that's it. Like, you're hoping Leeds are just worse than you. And this is the thing. Spurs should have looked at last season and realised that we can't just rely on other teams being worse than us. And that's what they're paying the price for right now. But this is the thing that what I want to touch on is the actual reality of next season. The Premier League fixtures come out. There is no Spurs. And as you say, Spurs are lining up and they're hosting. God knows what some of these championship clubs are going to do when they walk in that big, beautiful stadium. Whoa, what the... and this is the thing. I've been in the championship before, and this is the thing, Craig. And I hate to say this. It's so bad, man. And it's so bad because it's just depressing. Because every week, whether you win, lose or draw, although, don't get me wrong, it was nice beating the shit that was down there. We won every week. It was great. Andy Carroll, Shola. It was fun. But the reality is, it is terrible football. It's awful football. And it feels like the soul gets ripped out of the club when you've been only knowing Premier League football. It feels like the whole year is almost not an event. It's almost like you're just not relevant.
It isn't an event. Listen, do you know what the scary thing for me is as well? I don't think we're going to win every week.
I know.
I genuinely believe, I don't know what players are going to stay, who's going to go. A lot of players are going to push for moves and all it's going to be a circus. It's already a circus, but the circus is going to get bigger, right? My fear is that the players that can't edge a move, because a lot of these players are not going to be attractive now. Let's face it, there are players that are still Premier League quality. We know that. And some players, they're going to try and take them to Premier League clubs and rip them apart. But the ones that can't get a move, right, they're going to not be performing. They're going to be
unhappy. They're going to be raging.
I think they should be down there.
And Spurs are made for that. Like Newcastle as a club, our identity as a club, I think was more suited to the Championship in that with the way we see ourselves and the atmosphere that we create at St. James's.
Direct arena at one point. That suited it, respectfully.
Kind of, yeah, to be fair. But what I mean is I don't think Spurs mentally, as an entire fan base, club, everything, are built for the Championship. And this is what I'm getting to right now is the Championship that we were in, the gulf between the Premier League level and the Championship was enormous. What we're seeing now in football is the gulf between the top of the league and the bottom of the league is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I wouldn't be surprised if the same applies to the Championship in that it isn't as easy as what Newcastle found it now. The lack of fight in Spurs, here's the worst nightmare. It's not just one season in the Championship. And the financial disaster that a £1 billion entity, like what you've just described, Spurs are, they're one of the biggest, they're the top 10 richest club in the world, by the way. Don't make it out of the Championship immediately. It will have a ripple effect that could see that club, good Lord, who the fuck knows what could happen to Spurs? It could be a disaster this long
term. Put it this way, Brian, Leicester City, a Premier League winner, are in 23rd place in the Championship.
There you go, mate.
So there's no guarantee that we're talking about Spurs, challenging in the Championship, like coming straight back up.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee of that. The Championship is a really, really difficult league, and there's no guarantees of what's going to happen. They're going to, we've just said players are going to want to leave. Every single first team player will want to leave. Every single one. So they're going to have to start from scratch.
One thing I will say before we wrap it up is, though, if the Roberto De Zerbi does stay, I do think we will do well in the Championship. This is crazy that I'm even saying this.
You can't afford him in the Championship.
But as a manager, he is levels above like all of the managers there. But one thing I will say is I need to have some bit of optimism, even though I do believe we're getting relegated. And the only thing I can offer is if all De Zerbi needs to do is just get, I think, just one win. If they can find a win ASAP, whether it's Brighton next week, if they can just get one win, it can rise confidence out of players. They haven't won in so long. That's the thing that's eating them is we can't win. We can't win. Even Sunderland, the game yesterday, it was a very cagey, tight game. Sunderland weren't great, and then they scored a deflection. And this is the thing, usually under the other managers, when we concede first, we collapse. And we've been conceding 2-3 goals. We conceded one yesterday. We didn't collapse. That's the only silver lining I can take under De Zerbi right now. And we were unlucky once again. The goal was a mad deflection. I think if they can get something, if they can just get a win, who knows? That's the only bit of optimism I can offer.
If De Zerbi puts this off, he deserves a statue because this is absolutely backs against the wall. And I've not seen a team look so done and come back from the dead.
I want to say something as well. We've been horrible this season, but everything's gone against us as well. The injuries have just gone. We've had the worst injury time of players on the bench by far. You can just check the stats. This season. Kudus was supposed to come back into training this week, and he got injured again, and now he's having surgery.
Kulusevski he had a knock. Kulusevski was meant to be out for a couple of games.
And he's been on the whole season.
The Madison injury early on. It's been a disaster.
But also, you look at that squad now. Like I look at that starting lineup against Sunderland. That is a top 6 challenging lineup. There's something has gone so systemically wrong. They've got a decent squad. You've got a better squad than Bournemouth.
Top 10.
They haven't. They've got tough games next year as well. They need the players fit. They're going to have Lincoln. They're going to have Stevenage. It's not going to be easy.
Do you know what? Right? Can we? I'll ask you boys. It's the London rivals here. the day that it comes, and let's say it does happen, which does look odds on, Spurs are relegated to the Championship, potentially not coming back for however long. What will that day feel like for you boys, do you think?
We have Tottenham, the second last game of the season. It is at Stamford Bridge.
Oh my God.
They will have come off a game against Leeds. Imagine if that goes Leeds' way. There is an opportunity for us to win a cup final this season. There's an opportunity to have a period in Chelsea's history that is iconic, that will be remembered for near enough 100 years. And we have that chance. And if we weren't so awful, I'd be a lot more confident. But we could relegate Tottenham Hotspur.
No, and it would be we lose every game before that. Why do you not force it and make it seem like it's about you?
Couldn't it?
Game before that, how is it you?
That could be the nail in the coffin.
Can you imagine, right? Because you're connected, right? You imagine you're sat in the corporate end of Chelsea. You're watching. You're looking down.
You won't catch me there.
And you see Romero crying. Porro crying. Van de Ven's actually quite happy because he actually gets his move, so he's feigning tears, but he's pretending to.
Yeah, he's got the onion and the team.
Yeah.
That is so.
Just imagine that for a second.
All right, lads. I mean, look, we'll keep an eye on things. We'll do another call very soon. Big love to the chat, by the way. Big thanks for all the good comments we've had on the channel. And for Craig's sake, I kind of hope that they get out of this, because it's good. I keep thinking back to that pic, the iconic picture, if you haven't seen it, of Craig on the pitch as they won their first trophy last season. I'm thinking forever, you'll have to remember the next season after that now, every time he looks at the photo. It's annoying.
EFL champions next year, 2027.
There you go. That'll be the next picture.
That'll be the
next picture. All right. Hit the like button, subscribe to the Kickoff. We'll catch us on the next one.